Hey everybody, Keetin Marchi here for a special edition of AFTERBUZZ TV's Spotlight On with an amazing director who has just released a hilarious movie, so make sure you stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
This, again, it's a great song. This was in the movie, wasn't it?
This was not in the movie, no.
Okay, I was like, it sounds really, maybe because it's just such a good song.
This was in my wedding, but this is not in my movie. This is the greatest song of all time.
The greatest song of all time.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, again, I'm Keetin Marchi here with the amazing director, Sanjeev Sirpal. Yes, I got it right. I was so nervous about getting his name right, but you guys, he just released a film called Random Tropical Paradise. It's absolutely hysterical, so I'm so happy to have you in studio to talk about the film as well as your career and things you have coming up, because you're just so much fun. I mean, who else wants to come in with pour some sugar on me? That was his decision, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you. So Sanjeev, before we get started, where can we follow you so people know right away where we can follow you on social media as well as the film?
Sure, yeah. On Twitter, you can find me at Gvosity. And the film on Twitter as well is at RTP Movie, and then on Instagram and Facebook and all other social media platforms, it is at Random Tropical Paradise.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what.
And it's out right now.
It's
you guys,
out right now.
You guys can go watch this interview, get super hyped about the film, and then go watch it on it's on Netflix, it's on iTunes.
It's on it's on all VOD platforms. So iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, Google Play. Microsoft Xbox, not Netflix.
Not Netflix, but all the other ones.
Yeah, Microsoft Xbox, PlayStation, all of those. Any VOD platform that you can think of, we're on.
Awesome, awesome. So you wrote, directed, and produced this film. Did you have a cameo? Did I miss it, or no cameo from the director?
I may or may not have had a cameo.
Oh, so when you guys see it, see if you can find them, because I didn't see you, but I'm gonna have to rewatch it now.
It's a very, very quick. I have a voice cameo.
Oh.
I am the voice, without giving anything away, I'll just say I am the voice of the captain.
Okay. Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
And then I have a super quick, so in every, it just sort of happened with the first movie I did, and then everything I've done subsequently. I didn't even realize until maybe a couple in, but every cameo I have in any of my movies, I'm the bartender. And
awesome.
So now it's just like, all right, if there's a bartender character,
you have to be a bartender.
Yeah, so I'm a bartender in one of the shots.
You're gonna someday make this historical drama, and you're gonna find a way to be in the wench bar,
Oh, totally, absolutely. There's gonna be or a post-apocalyptic space odyssey, and then I'm just gonna be a bartender. I was like, I'm the bartender. There are no bars.
Hey, Firefly had bars.
That's true. That is true.
I'm just saying.
That is true.
Did Mad Max have bars? I don't even know. I don't think so. They were struggling enough for water. They couldn't drink alcohol.
Yeah, no,
Let's
they didn't.
Be real.
I don't think any. Maybe the third, maybe the old school, beyond Thunderdome. I think Thunderdome probably had a bar. Yeah.
All I can think of when I think of Mad Max is that thing that they do in the desert, Burning Man.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I can think of. And I'm like, they obviously have bars there, so you can make it happen.
That was my haircut. When I got my haircut, I was like, give me the Furiosa.
Oh.
That's. And they were just like, oh, I'll do that.
Looks great. I love it. I love it. So you've been super busy traveling around promoting this film, and I mean, you wrote this. So what kind of, tell me how this movie started. Where did you get this idea? What kind of urged you to sit down and actually start, putting pen to paper?
So for this movie in particular, this is the first film for my company as well. It's the first film that my company produced.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And so it's the first in our slate. And so when I was thinking about what to write when I was thinking about writing this movie, there's that universal, everyone has had this experience, and if you haven't, then I'm terrified at the amount of bodies you probably have in a closet.
No.
But that sort of universal experience of having a relationship and it was ended for you.
Yes.
It wasn't your idea, and it wasn't it wasn't on your terms or your sketch. It was ended for you.
Yes.
It wasn't on, and so I was thinking, like, what's the movie version of that? Like, what is the most heightened, most over the top, and in the realm of like a screwball comedy, like Random Tropical Paradise is, like, what is that version of that kind of universal feeling? And so of that sort of unintended heartbreak. And so of course it's like, instead of just having it be a breakup, like, it happens at a wedding.
It's rough too.
And yeah, and not just at a wedding, but at the person's wedding, and like 5 minutes before they're going to get married.
Yeah,
like that's the most. And then with that, experience of that sort of massive heartbreak, you always have, your friends rally around you where they're like, we're gonna get you through this, and you always have that sort of, everyone has their different ways of dealing with it and coping, and then you've definitely got, I mean, I definitely have, I'm sure everyone else as well has those friends too that are just like, oh, you're single again, and this happened to you, and that gives us like total carte blanche to just go nuts. Like, we're gonna get you over this, and we're gonna get you over this by partying, like, I can say ass.
You can say ass.
Partying our asses off as hard as we can until you're over
and
this.
Such props to the casting, to Brooks Wheelan, who, if like you guys, he was on SNL a couple years ago, but he embodies that persona so perfectly, better than any other. Like, I mean, there's the Stiflers, there's every other, like, fun movie like this kind of has that guy, but I just thought Brooks did such a great job, to the point where you like have empathy for him at the same time, and you don't hate him as much as like maybe you should, because he's such an idiot. You just love him. You really love him.
Oh yeah, he's a superstar. I mean, the casting was meticulous, and I have to give. I mean, there aren't enough props that I can give to our casting directors, Bly Nailing and Janelle Scuderi. I'll give them a shout out.
Props.
They were able to, they allowed me to put together this, like, my dream cast.
Yeah.
I mean, and so the funny thing with Brooks is that he actually read for a different part. He read for Randy initially.
Really?
Yeah, and Randy, who's also
awesome,
an insane character. Alfonso's
yeah,
incredible,
so much fun,
and a great character, like a such a fun
great character. Yeah.
And so he initially read for Randy, and after his audition, and I knew Brooks from SNL.
Yeah.
I loved him on SNL, and had seen his stand up and everything as well, and was like, oh, Brooks, that's crazy, that's great. But after his audition, I went to our casting directors, and I was like, he'd be a perfect Bowie. And our casting directors were like, oh, we were thinking the same thing. Like, we were trying to figure out how to tell you, like, hey, what do you think about him for Bowie? Like, that'd be amazing. And he is just, I mean, yeah, he's a superstar. It's the entire cast is just, I couldn't ask for a better. I mean, it was a dream cast. The relationship that he and Brian.
Oh my gosh, best bromance ever.
It's so great. And the way that they play off each other is phenomenal, and Brian brings the whole movie together. I mean, he grounds it, and his performance allows everyone else to be crazy and still be believable, because he's sort of the rock that centers everything.
And it's so hard to be the straight man. So props to him, and props to your direction for being able to kind of, guide him in a way, and for him to be able to act in a way that, we did believe it, and we still fell in love with him, and I just thought he was so good. I haven't seen him in anything for a while, so, and he's like comes to my restaurant all the time, so I've seen him in person, but I haven't seen him on screen in a while, so it was so great to see him and see him kicking butt. And
oh, he's such a pro. I mean, he's so good, and it was phenomenal to see the two of them, because they a really cool thing about the shooting the movie too is that, like, we all became friends.
That's awesome.
And so we would hang out, even after shooting and everything, we'd be hanging out together, going to escape rooms, going to dinner, or even just getting together, and we'd like talk about, the scenes that we're shooting the next day, and like, we would just go through scenes. And so, you hear a lot with movies where it's like everyone is together for the shoot, and then after it's done, everyone scatters. Yeah. And so what's cool with this movie is that, like, everyone still keeps in touch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And Brooks and Brian, you can see even, with their their performance on screen and their relationship with each other, like they became really good friends in real life as well.
That's cool.
And you can see that, you can see that on the screen, which is phenomenal. Well, and oh, sorry.
Oh no! Speaking of Brooks and Brian, I would love to throw up that scene right now, really quick. This is one of my favorite scenes from the film, and this kind of just gives you a little taste of what their relationship was like, as well as how great your writing is and how hilarious it is. So let's play the scene really quick.
Time, man. This is my favorite part.
Oh, yeah. This is where he switches clothes with the bad guy so that the other bad guys shoot their boss instead of him.
Yeah.
It's genius.
It's so good.
You know what would make this movie even better?
Danny Trejo.
Fucking right. Danny Trejo makes everything better.
Yeah, he does. Imagine Crocodile Dundee 2 starring Danny Trejo. Movie would be 10 minutes long. They would just steal his girlfriend, and then they'd call him, and they'd be like, we have your girlfriend. And he would just be like, and then they would just send her back with an apology letter and a box of chocolates.
What about Jaws starring Danny Trejo?
Okay, is Danny Trejo Jaws?
No, Danny Trejo swims out in the middle of the ocean to find Jaws, uppercuts Jaws, sends Jaws into orbit, and then Danny Trejo just stares into the camera for an hour and a half.
Ooh, Independence Day starring Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo rides his motorcycle into space, straight onto the alien spaceship, and just looks at them all and goes, "Don't even fucking think about it." And the aliens are like, "Sorry," and they leave, and then Danny Trejo just goes to Will Smith like, "Quit fucking around and start rapping."
Castaway starring Danny Trejo.
Whereas just Trejo, I like a just Trejo film.
Except for the volleyball, which is also Danny Trejo.
Indiana Trejo, where that he opens up the Ark of the Covenant, and then the Ark of the Covenant melts. Because it saw Danny Trejo.
What if instead of Fight Club, it's Danny Trejo Club?
Danny Trejo is Mrs. Doubtfire.
Ooh.
Toodaloo. I miss my kids.
What about Sophie's Choice starring Danny Trejo?
Ooh.
So Danny Trejo has to decide between two other Danny Trejos.
So that's a triple Trejo.
Talk about a triple Trejo.
Ooh, The Lion King, after Mufasa held up Simba, the camera turns around, and it's not Simba, it's goddamn Danny Trejo.
Where did you get that idea, first of all? I've seen that clip so many times, and I'm like crying.
So, that's an actual conversation I've had with friends of mine. Like,
really?
Oh yeah, I have like texts of myself and friends, and we're just throwing. Like one day, you're just because, the movie at the heart of it, when you think it's a love story, but it's a love story between the two friends. Like
yeah.
They're two dudes, and it's one guy that's trying to get his friend over, this huge heartbreak.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is just like, it's following these two lovable idiots, through these like misadventures. And so, but yeah, I've had, it's just one of those, you're hanging out with your friends, or if I'm just sitting there, watching TV, and and my buddies from college or buddies out here or something, and I'm just like, hey, what do you think about this movie starring Danny Trejo? Like, I have tons of that, like, where it's a conversation that we just have that I'm like, this is one, and
yeah.
While I'm having the conversation, I'm like, one day I got to figure out how to put this in a movie, because this is kind of funny.
And you did it.
And I did, yeah.
And it did great.
And I mean, I had...
yeah, any film starring Danny Trejo that got cut?
Yeah, oh yeah. So I had Batman starring Danny Trejo, where he punches his fist in the air and immediately, like, the Joker and the Penguin die. And then it was something where, like, he like growls and Catwoman's immediately pregnant, and then he drives the bat cycle to Warner Brothers and dangles Joel Schumacher like out a window until he promises not to put nipples on the bat suit or something like that. It was like, it got cut because it was very long, but we had a ton. I mean, another great thing about shooting with the cast that I had and everything is that, like,
did they improv any of that?
so we had a ton of fun. Like, we probably shot an entire day of Danny Trejo
Danny Trejo
stuff.
jokes. Yeah.
And when I was writing the film, normally I like to outline first before I start writing, and normally with an outline you have maybe like 30 index cards to say, so 30 index cards that have sort of an outline of the film. I had 120 before I even wrote a word for the script. So
wow.
I had stuff mapped out like crazy, and like lines and jokes and things like that. It was all in there. So for writing, it was great because I already knew I had all of the big stuff in there, and it allowed me to just kind of run. Mm-hmm. And then what was great with the cast is that from that, because we had like powerhouse, like, you know, we have people like Kyle Kinane, Beth Littleford, Alfonso, Brian Brooks, Aiden Mary, Jessica Lowe, Spencer Grammer, Brittany Ferlin, like huge powerhouse comedy and you know, kind of improv guys that, you know, when we got there, and I, you know, before we even started shooting, I met with everybody and we would talk about the, you know, talk about the movie, talk about the script. So what was a lot of fun is that I actually got to rewrite in real time sometimes. Ooh. Where everything was, since we had everything on paper, it allowed us to not have to think about not have to think about how we were going to do the scene or what the scene wanted to convey or anything like that. And it just allowed us to, once we got everything down, like once we got everything shot, then it was like, all right, let's have some fun. And so it was a blast for me to be able to, because it was so much fun getting everyone in a room, and then we were just like rapid fire, like let's try this, and I think it was funny because they didn't say it to me initially, I think, but I think the cast was kind of like surprised and excited when they would be like, when if someone would be like, hey, like, what if I try this?
Yeah.
Or if I try that? And I'm like, that's a great idea. Like, let's do that. And they're like, oh, I can do that? And I'm like, yeah, let's
oh,
you know.
What a generous director!
And I'd be like, what if you do, you know, because from there I can be like, what if instead of that you do this, but you do it this way, or you do, instead of saying all of this, you say it this one, like, you know, instead of saying it, you say this line and stuff like that. And so, like, it'd be fun for some of the, for you know, for the movie to kind of be, so I would just sit there, I'd have my laptop, and everyone, we'd all just be talking, and I'd just be sit there and rewrite while,
That's awesome.
You know, while we,
well, and it's so rare. Like, it really is rare as a writer to not just have to hand over your script and be like, okay, I can't do anything else now to it. But you got to kind of play the whole way through because you directed it and produced the film, and obviously had a cast who were willing to go to play and have fun and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out really well in the sense that I got to do it I got to do it on my terms.
Yeah.
To where, you know, and I also got to do it with when we were rewriting with the cast and stuff like that, or not rewriting, but when we were kind of just like playing around with stuff to see if we wanted to throw anything in. I got to do it with people it's not where it's like an arbitrary note, or it's just like notes coming from like a business side or anything like that. It was like a totally creative, like, we're having a blast, we have everything down, and this is, you know, there's sometimes, you know, we'd be throwing stuff around and seeing, you know, where it goes, and then, you know, when it comes to the editing, it's like, oh, how we had it originally worked best, you know? So it's like, but this other stuff is still funny, but this works best. And then there's other things where it's like, oh, that stuff that we were playing around with during the day, like, that stuff was so funny. Like, I'm so glad we got to do that. Because even from writing to the screen, there's stuff that works on paper that doesn't necessarily work, you know, when you add everything else to the medium.
Yeah.
So it was cool that I had a really great cast that allowed me to, you know, that we could, you know, have a really great rapport to be able to kind of just, it was just fun. It was like a madhouse. It was like a playroom that we had, like so, and that's actually funny with the with that Danny Trejo scene, that you know, I had never worked with any of the actors before, and so anytime you're in a, you know, doing a movie, there is a level of trust that, you know, has to be earned on my part, in the sense that, like, I have to earn their trust.
Yes. It's,
you know, it definitely goes both ways, but I absolutely need to earn their trust.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that, like, you know, as we were going through the movie, by the Danny Trejo scene, by the time we shot that, I like to think that I had their trust.
Yeah.
Because that was the one time that, like, you know, Brian and Brooks and I were getting together, and Brian and we'd just be talking beforehand, and he'd be like, this scene is really funny, but I don't know if it, like, he's like, I don't know if we, like, he's like, you're probably gonna cut this anyway, because, like,
no.
Yeah, he's like, you're probably gonna cut this anyway. He's like, it's really funny, but I don't know, like, in terms of the rest of the movie, and, like, he's like, I don't get, he's like, I get it as a scene and it's hilarious, but, like, I don't get it as a part of the movie.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things where it was just like, he was like, we'll do it. He's like, you know, because that trust had been earned by then, he was like, oh no, we'll do it. and we'll have fun with it and everything. He's like, but you're probably going to cut it anyway. And it was a great call after, we had finished the movie and everything, and he'd seen it, and he was just like, man, you were right. That is the funniest. That's the funniest thing in the movie. And I was like, ha. But like it's a great, the one that Brooke says, the Indiana Trejo.
Yeah.
So originally how I had pitched it to him was, it was Indiana Trejo. He steals that idol.
Yeah.
But instead of a boulder chasing after him, it's a giant Danny Trejo. And so he was going to go. He was like, all right, cool. We're going to go there. And then he came up with that, opens the Ark of the Covenant, but instead of, but then the Ark of the Covenant mounts because it's Danny Trejo. He literally came up with that as we were shooting. Like
that's awesome, right there.
Right there. And you can see his face. You can see him smile a little bit.
Because he thinks he's so clever.
Because he realized, he was like, oh man, that's funny. And like, I was in we had the video village in another room.
Yeah. Which
was good because he said that and I was just like, we're printing that. Like, tell me we got it. And so like that one was great. So it was it was a ton of, it was very humbling and really, it was like a really big honor to have these like comedy guys and these actors that like I've looked up to to be like, hey, we signed on because we really like this script. Like, we think the script is really funny.
That has to feel real good.
Yeah. And then to even be able to be like, because you could even have someone that like they come on and they just do what's written and they're just like, whatever, I don't care. But like the fact that they were so invested in the film and everything, it was a blast to be able to be like, hey, how can we, to come up and be like, how can we tailor this to you? How can we get this, to where it's like.
Do you have a best memory of like what is like you're like, you look back on the film and you're like, one day that you're like, you'll never forget because it was just either such a fun day, it meant so much to you?
Oh man, that's such a good question. That Danny Trejo scene was a ton of fun to shoot. Right when we start shooting, like that first day when you kind of look around and it's like, okay, this is the set that I had written, however many, I'd written this set in my head, and now I can see what that looks like. And then you see the two people who are like, or you see any of the people that are playing the characters, and you're like, I wrote that, these guys are saying what I wrote, and then you're kind of looking and you see the scene. And it's like, I've been living with this scene for however long I've been writing this movie.
How long was the process of this particular film?
I started outlining and kind of, that process in terms of figuring out, outlining to get to the writing process. That was probably a few months. And that was, that was like 2014. Oh,
wow.
I'd say about like 3 to 6 months of just the outlining of getting everything down. Then the writing process was, another 3 months. And then we shot then shooting the movie. So the whole writing process was probably a year.
Yeah.
And then shooting and post-production and everything was probably another 8 months, 9 months, something like that. And then when we finished the film, our distributors were like, "Oh, this is great!" Distributors coming to pick it up, and they were like, "This is great for a summer movie. We want this to be a summer movie." And I'm like, "Great, it's the fall, so we're just gonna wait for a few months." And they were like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "All right, cool." Like, that's what happens.
It's whatever. That's been almost like a 2.5, 3 year process for you.
It's definitely probably a 2-3 year process.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
That's awesome. Is this your first feature length film, or because I know you've done a lot of shorts, but is this the first feature?
Not the first feature. I did another feature a few years ago called Screw Cupid. That was tiny feature. It was done. The entire budget was less than like Chris Evans's codpiece budget alone in the first Avengers. But we did the festival route. We won some festivals, and then Sundance Channel and IFC picked it up.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that kind of got me into the room.
Now, have you always wanted to be a director? Like, is this like did you go to like film school and stuff, or did you kind of fall into this?
Sort of both. No, I'd always wanted to write. Always
Yeah.
wanted to write and direct. Ever since the first time I saw Back to the Future when I was 5 years old.
You guys, just a little insert. He drove away on his wedding day in a DeLorean. Okay.
That is true.
Coolest
yes.
wife ever. But continue now. That's just a side note.
And with a guy dressed as Doc Brown. And
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And I was wearing the self-lacing sneakers. But anyway,
Mic drop.
yes.
Sanjeev out.
So I had always known I'd wanted to write and direct, and I did in college. I got my degree in magazine and feature writing in journalism. I went to the University of Florida, which had and still does. It's like one of the top 3 journalism schools.
Yeah.
It's between them, Northwestern, and Mizzou. And so the magazine and feature writing was a lot of like Tom Wolfe kind of Hunter S. Thompson stuff, where it was still because I knew I'd always wanted to write and direct for film, but I didn't know necessarily I was like, well, I can't just graduate college and be like, all right, I'm gonna write for film, and so I was like, all right, let me do something that is in that realm, but I can still while I'm figuring out how to get to that, I could still do I could have a career or still have a job.
Yeah.
After that, so I got my degree in journalism. I did an interdisciplinary in film. And then because I'm Indian, I got my minors in biology and chemistry, and so I think I'm the only person still that has that combination of degrees.
Ever,
yeah. And so for about a year, I was working for the Associated Press, and then I was working for a newspaper and did some freelance magazine writing. And then it got to the point that I was just like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I packed up everything I could fit into my car. I told my roommates to sell everything else. And I drove cross country to LA. I had cold called. I'd gotten the number of this producer who was producing a pilot called A Pilot on Venice Beach. And so I got his number and I just cold called him. And off of that conversation, he was like, oh, we're crewing up. It'd be great for you to come in to interview to see, for a job. He's like, we're having, we're doing these interviews in Venice. Where do you live? And I was in Florida, and this was on a Monday. And the only place I could think of was there was a friend of mine, I think, that was living in Burbank. So I was just like, oh, I'm in Burbank. And he's like, oh, great. Can you be in Venice by Friday? And I was like, sure. And so hung up the phone on Monday, packed all my stuff, told my roommates to sell everything, and was in Venice by Friday.
Oh my gosh, did you get the job?
I got the job.
Hey!
Yeah. And then from there, I from friends of mine that I made on the crew, I found a place, started interning like crazy, and then I knew 2 people when I moved out here, and then from there I ended up getting my first job at WME.
Awesome.
Which was it's still the it's like the heart of Hollywood. Everything goes through there, and it was definitely it was amazing because it's absolutely a trial by fire, because basically they're like, all right, here's everything coming at you at once.
Yeah.
And so it was great because from there I went and I did, I went into development and was on the sort of development side of production. Mm-hmm. And so that was fantastic to be able to kind of get the lay of the land and also see how that side works for a few years before. And all the while I was writing.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wanted to do that. And then when it got to the point where I was, helping sell friends of mine's scripts, and put together friends of mine's projects, I was like, I want to do that for my own stuff now.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into getting to do Screw Cupid.
It's amazing.
So thanks.
Hey, it's an amazing hustling, man. Because did you ever tell the guy who interviewed you for the Venice project the whole story behind that you had literally drove cross country for that job interview?
I think I might have. I think after that pilot finished, after we finished shooting, after there wasn't a time where he could be like, well, you're fired. I was like, oh, by the way, I was in Florida when we had that first call.
So moving forward as a writer and director, kind of what genre do you see yourself kind of staying in, or do you want to do everything? Kind of what's your favorite thing, or what would you like to be known for?
I grew up, obsessed with the John Hughes movies, those sort of comedies. And all of the, I cut my teeth. I grew up on, Monty Python. Spaceballs is still to this day one of my favorite movies of all time. Funnily enough, Can't Hardly Wait is probably 2 or 3.
Really?
I love that movie. That movie is amazing.
I've never seen the entirety of that movie. I've like seen it because it's I feel like it's on HBO Showtime like all the time. So like I'll always throw it on, but have I sat down and just like watched it seriously? I've not, but now.
Oh man,
I have to.
That's anytime anyone asks when they're like, "Oh, you're a filmmaker. Like, what are your favorite movies?" And anytime I'm like, "Oh, Can't Hardly Wait's up there," they're just like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, go watch that movie. It's amazing." but you know those sort of like you know, like I love the Spaceballs, I love the Monty Python stuff, but those John Hughes movies where it's like the screwball comedies, but they've got heart. Like there's always, and then you know, from there it's like any of the Cameron Crowe stuff or Nora Ephron, Richard Curtis stuff. So I'd love to be, you know, I love that kind of comedy, romantic comedy where it's still like bawdy and ribald and funny, but like you've got that heart, and it you know kind of tugs at your heartstrings. So I love those. At the same time though, you know, I also love, you know, like a good sci-fi.
How can you? I mean, hey, the DeLorean was at your wedding.
Yeah,
you have to love a good sci-fi.
like a huge, you know, like in a huge event movie. I would love to do like a huge, like, you know, a big summer blockbuster, Back to the Future type.
Well, you got to put it out in the universe for
You
it
get
to
something,
happen.
yeah, you know, like or like a cool like. And it's been interesting after this movie's come out. Like I've got, there's opportunities to kind of. To do some projects that are outside of the comedy genre that like are my wheelhouse, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm game because it's really, if it's a cool project like outside of genre, because you can't, you know, I love, you know, I just love old movies. There's dramas that I love. There, you know, it'd just be really cool to, you know, I'm down to do it. You know, like dream projects. You know, there's definitely like it ranges from like. You know, I'd love to do a Thundercats movie.
Oh my gosh, why has there not been a Thundercats movie? I completely agree with you. That needs to be your summer blockbuster because this is a missed opportunity that I feel like there's probably scripts floating around or something. Like there's probably, it's been in the works. Not in the works, but I feel like people have been trying to get it to happen.
There's gotta be. I mean, it's like
be.
the biggest cartoon of the 80s. And I was a huge, like, Transformers guy, but, like, a huge
I liked Thundercats better
guy.
than Transformers. I will say Thundercats, whoa, with Chara, the Panther guy, Lino.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're my,
It was, even as a kid, if someone were to ask me, like, you have to choose between Transformers or Thundercats. Even as a kid, I would be like, "That's a choice I can't make. Like, I can't. You can't ask me that." But like, there's got to be something there. But like, I would love to do it. You would think someone actually. I think it's on YouTube. I don't know if it's still on there, but they cut a bunch of Brad Pitt movies together, and then they recolored it to make them look like Thundercats.
Oh,
and they made it a
gosh.
Thundercats trailer.
Okay, hold up. I'm pulling this up right now.
And just on that alone, I was like, that would be such a badass movie. Like, I would love to do a Thundercats movie and do it right to where, you know,
somebody give you
just
you have to do it.
Let me do it.
I want you to do it because I so badly want a Thundercats movie, but I so badly want someone to do the Thundercats movie that's going to honor the Thundercats.
Oh,
so I would loved it.
Yeah, exactly.
But also be able to translate it to a modern audience in a way that, like, I think I will say Power Rangers, I think, did a really good job about doing that. I don't think it got as much credit for like the new Power Rangers movie.
Yeah, no, totally.
But I think it did a really great job of like honoring the TV show that I grew up with, as well as giving us this new film and all these young, awesome actors. And
no, totally, absolutely. And like the thing is like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go.
Oh, yeah, because now
we're hyped. Thundercats, whoa.
And like the thing with it is that like when you look at, because you hit it right in the head where it's like you want to get it to where like the you know, for people who watched it as a kid, we're still like so you want a movie that like for the people who watched it as kids, it makes us feel like a kid again.
Yes.
And at the same time, you want to be able to bring in that audience who are kids now, who are like, oh, this is fantastic, like it's a modern thing. And you know, the way where you see like Power Rangers did do a decent job, like they did a better job than they're probably given credit for. But when you look at like, you know, when you look at Man of Steel and stuff like that, where it's like when they're trying to reboot But you know how they missed it? It's like you have the theme song, that John Williams theme song.
Yes!
Is all you need. All you need to do is build a movie around the feeling that people get when they hear that song.
Yes.
And that is all you need is that through line.
Yeah.
And they have the same thing with, like, you know, when you look at Transformers and you look at the reboot for that one too, it's like all you need is that they made that first animated Transformers movie with the "You Got the Touch." Like, the feeling of that when Optimus Prime opens when Hot Rod opens the cog of leadership and you hear Optimus Prime going, "Rise, Rodimus Prime." Like, I'm still getting tears about
He's
it.
crying
I'm in my
studio,
30s
guys.
and I'm thinking about the two scenes of Optimus Prime going, "Megatron must be stopped no matter the cost," and he does a front flip and opens up a sword, and they have this, and then the whole, like, I'm literally about to start crying.
If you don't make, okay, this needs to be a goal of it. If you do not make the frickin' Thundercats movie, I will be upset.
Like, can you imagine, like, a big budget, huge Thundercats movie that has the whole, like, Lino finds the sword and goes,
it's the
Thunder,
origin. It's the origin story.
Thundercats, like, oh, like, put that in a movie and build it off of that, and, like, $1 billion.
Literally, it's just that intro, that Thundercats intro. That needs to be, just make that into a film.
Yeah.
Because, and then you can make as many sequels. I mean, studios, this is a gold mine. You can bring back the TV shows. Think of the merchandise here. What are we doing?
You literally hit all of the things that, like, us as adults are now, like, free. Like, we're adults. We pay taxes. We have responsibilities. And we've talked for 15 minutes about how badass that Thundercats trailer is. So you need that. If I could do that, that'd be phenomenal.
Okay,
and then,
it's in the universe.
and then on the completely opposite spectrum, like, one of my favorite books of all time is Shantaram, and it's, like, set in India, and it's very personal in the sense of, like, it's a really, really crazy, amazing story. And it's like a crazy it's like a total drama, and I'd love to do that too.
Well, speaking of kind of where you come from and stuff, how does your family feel about this? Like, I know the film industry in India, it's pretty big with Bollywood and stuff. Like, is this something that, like, you all, I mean, because you said you did also minor and, like, you know, the stereotypical things, but how do they feel about all your success and kind of where you've gone with your career?
First generation Indian, you know, my parents moved here from India. But we, you know, obviously grew up born and raised here. And so, I mean, it's literally like, you know, my dad's a doctor, uncles and aunts are all doctors. Like, I think my dog is in med school. Like, so, you know, I was on the I have all my, I got my minors in biology and chemistry because I got all my pre-med prereqs in college. I mean, I didn't switch into journalism until probably end of my sophomore, beginning of junior year.
Wow.
So it was one of those things where, like, I was on that, and I loved it. I mean, I loved biology. I loved all that stuff. And so I was on that track, but the whole time I'm obsessed with movies. I'm writing a ton.
Yeah.
Like, I would be doing, you know, all of the core stuff, but then all of my extracurriculars were theater, writing, English, you know, it was all of that.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point at a time in college where it was like, okay, I have to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it's not medicine. It's I want to do film. Like, I want to be that person that I dreamt about being when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And so it was funny because, like, I was freaked out about how I was going to tell my parents. And when I did tell my parents, like, they were so unbelievably supportive.
I mean, they seemed so at the premiere. Like, I was lucky enough to go to the premiere of the film, and your whole family was there. They seemed like they were having a blast.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, it's like
so sweet, talking to everybody. So that has to be exciting.
It's the funniest thing because, like, you know, like, because my dad's like, oh, we've never had anyone do this in our family.
Yeah.
And so they're like, this is really exciting. Like, this is, you know, and they were like, go for it. They, you know, they supported me 100%, which was amazing. And then even, you know, as we're, as I was working and sort of cutting my teeth and paying my dues in town where it's like, you know, I'm working 100 hours a week at certain things. And, you know, I remember, explaining to my dad like what I do, and he's like, "So you're like a secretary?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a secretary. I'm a
production assistant."
and they're like, and they're doing, and you know, and then you know, they have like their friends' kids that are doing and they're like, "Oh, they just like did med school and all this stuff."
Yeah.
But they were never like, "Oh, this is what your friend," you know. I would just, you know, hear about it in terms of like, I would hear from the friends like, "Oh, they're doing this," but all the while everyone is like, "Tell us what it's like being in Hollywood. Tell us what it's like being in LA." And you know, the whole goal of all of this, of everything that I do, you know, one of those big things is that I just want to make my parents like as proud of me as I am of them. And so it's I know, yeah, it's like it's a big yeah, it really means a lot. It meant a lot, and it still means a lot that they're like super gung-ho about it. And now that it's getting to where you know, they're coming to movie premieres of my movie and like things like that. Like it's really cool to see, like, you know, they're hearing them say like, "Oh, you know, like we've seen you like put all of this hard work into this, and it's really great to see it paying out," you know, and like, and then being like, you know, that's my son, like, you know, even before I was making, you know, having movies made and writing, directing and stuff like that, they would be like, "That's my son." Like even when I was, you know, PAing or an assistant or they were just like, that's my son, like, and so yeah, it meant a ton.
Sweet.
And then, you know, I'll show rough cuts to my parents and my dad will give me notes.
Now your movie was a little raunchy, or Random Tropical Paradise is a little raunchy. What is it like kind of having your parents watch films like that? Like, are they laughing along with you? Do they kind of get your kind of personality and your sense of humor, or are they like still like, "Oh, well, maybe that part was a little too much, but it's still a good film"? Like,
oh, I got my sense of humor from them.
Really? Okay, so they're loving it.
It's I mean, my parents are hilarious.
That's
like
awesome.
it's my family are like hilariously funny, whether they realize it or not. Hilariously funny. So you know, in terms of like the body humor and stuff like that, it's not necessarily that I like they would be sitting around telling me like body jokes and stuff like that, but like they totally get that. You're like, it's mortifying. The first time they'll see stuff, I'm like, I can't be here for this. Like, you can watch it, and then I just won't look you in the eyes for like a month, and then we'll talk about it. But it's the funniest thing. Like one, it's hilarious when they'll see it, and my mom and my dad will be like, "Well, we do have some notes," and they'll give me some stuff. And then a couple things, like, one, I think it's hilarious, but then there's a couple where I'm like, "Oh, damn, that's a good note." Like, that's not. But it's so. The funniest thing is both with two of my movies right now, with Random Tropical Paradise and Screw Cupid, like the dirtiest joke in both of those movies at the premieres. My dad like had the loudest laugh, like. So two of the jokes that I'm just like, oh, like my dad's laughing so hard at like so it's the I still can't look them in the eyes about it because
it's still that fresh, guys. It's very fresh.
Yeah, they still probably look at me like I'm 8 and I'm totally fine with that. I'm like, nope, 8, that's fine. Like anytime I come home, I'm like, can I have a sandwich? But yeah, no, they I'm sure my mom is just like, that could have been, but she still appreciates. She's like, no,
that's awesome.
It's funny. And my dad's just like, that's
That's all you could ask for. Well, thank you so much you've shared so much with me, and I can't wait till you make that Thundercats film. You just have to promise me you'll come back in here.
Oh,
do an interview.
We're coming back.
Yeah, and if I don't get an invite to the premiere, I'll be upset.
Oh no, we're definitely and that interview for when I come back after the next movie, it has to start with just you and I. And I mean, we'll be in Thundercats.
Yeah, full on Thundercats cosplay.
But we've just got to be holding mics and just being like, "Told you."
Done. Done. I'll get in super good shape and audition for Chitara. Yes.
I gotta figure out. Okay, so that's the thing, though. Where is there a bartender on Third Earth? That's gonna be the hard.
No, this is because this is the cool thing about Thundercats is like the world I feel like was only tapped into within the TV series. There's so much more you could expand with it.
We could start on their planet before they left.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a bartender.
Oh my! If you don't, you better start outlining this film right now. You better be shopping it around. Like, don't give away all your ideas on camera right now. We'll discuss. Like, just kind of lock yourself in. Now you got a good film out right now. You can kind of sit for a little while and focus on Thundercats.
it's a massive. I mean, whoever the powers that be that own Thundercats, like it's a massive reach of just like, please let me do Thundercats,
Yeah.
but please let me do Thundercats.
Please let him do Thundercats. What would be okay? So who would be your dream Lino? Just put out in the universe. One more thing, because I love doing this with directors and actors.
Who's a dream Lino?
Because then the dream guy to work with.
Let's see. Because, like, what's crazy is that, like, because Lionel was, like, you know, he's, like, the youngest of them all. So it would have to be, like, and what's crazy is that trailer where they redid a bunch of Brad Pitt stuff.
So
like, Brad Pitt does look like a crazy Lionel. But, like, you look at, like, you could do a Zac Efron Lionel.
Oh.
You could do
That'd be a funny Lionel.
You could do a...
Could you do The Rock as Lionel?
Oh, if The Rock wanted to do anything, I would make it...
Rock, you can be Chitara.
Like Rock is Panthro?
Yes!
Like,
yes!
Done. That's gold. That's...
Done.
Oh, man, yeah.
Done.
Rock is Panthro would be... Or
Chiwetel Ejiofor, man.
yeah. You just wanted to show that you knew how to say his name.
I can say his name.
Any of those guys, I'm like, who's a line? Let me think really quick. Because right now I'm thinking Zac Efron. I'm like, oh, that's a good line.
Chris Pratt's too funny. Well, Zac Efron's really funny too.
Chris Pratt would be a great Lino.
He'd be a great
Lino too.
But Lino's like super serious.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like he's like the serious dude of the group.
Yeah, you do like an Oscar Isaacs.
Oh.
Can you imagine that as Lino? That'd be interesting.
Oh, oh my gosh! And this is the thing: do you do like makeup? Do you do practical effects, or do you do kind of little special effects?
I am a fan of practical.
Thank you.
So you would just sort of augment.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal as Lino.
Oh, is he too old at this point?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, because one, you don't know the actual ages of the Thundercats, and with all the makeup and everything that they have in there, like he could pull off the.
But when he did Prince of Persia, it kind of flopped, so you don't know if like.
But that's not his fault. I mean, he's
I know.
amazing.
He's Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah. He can do anything.
Yeah, he's the Rock as Panthro is
getting
me excited.
Yeah, that would just be amazing. Yeah. Oh my God! Just get a script of The Rock, and if he could walk up to any studio and be like, "Yes, I want to be Panther on this movie directed by this guy." They'll be like, "Okay, Rock, whatever you want, buddy." That's what you got to do.
That is another like dream of the dreaming to do Thundercats and everything. Like one of the other dreams too would be like. Just having some sort of situation where I get to be in a ring at the WWE and be able to do a people's elbow with The Rock.
Oh my gosh.
Like we do and then run across.
This is the way to do it. I'm telling you, everything comes back to Thundercats.
It comes back to Thundercats.
We've literally spent 20 minutes of this interview talking about Thundercats, and I'm okay with it because it's been so much fun. So back to Random Tropical Paradise. Really quick, remind us again where we can all watch it and how we can follow it on social media and everything.
Sure. It's available on demand and on VOD, so you can get it on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Microsoft Xbox, the Sony Entertainment PlayStation Network. Vudu. You can also see everything that we have going on with it at randomtropicalparadise.com, and the Instagram, Facebook handles are at Random Tropical Paradise, and on Twitter it's at RTP Movie.
And with your production company, can you give a shout out to your production company? What do you guys have coming up?
Sure. We've got a production company called Shabash Films. Shabash means well done or good job in
I like
Hindi.
that.
And we have some other movies coming up in the slate. I have another comedy coming up. It's like a if Todd Phillips were to make a John Hughes movie.
Oh, okay.
So it's another sort of, I don't know how much I can say about it yet, but when we do announce, I'll come back and be like, this is what the movie's about.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're getting ready to get into pre-production on that in the next few months to hopefully start shooting early next year to get it out for coming, what is this year, 2017?
Oh
so
my
yeah.
Gosh, it's 2017.
Yeah, coming out for 2018.
Oh man.
Yeah, we have 2 more in the slate, and we're getting ready for the next one.
Same genre or something a little different?
It's a little different. It's the same. It's still a comedy. It's a comedy with heart. So, it's still got the sort of bawdy screwball aspects to it.
Yeah.
But there's a definite romantic comedy kind of thread with it. So it's more.
You love those rom-coms.
I
I
do.
love it because I'm a sucker for. I anytime I've just thrown any rom-com. I love them.
Oh, any of the like the Notting Hill, Love Actually,
yes,
When Harry Met Sally,
yes,
any of those. Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
No, I love When Harry Met Sally because that's my boyfriend and I's relationship. He is my Harry and I am his Sally. Like we met in college, all of that stuff. So we get together, break up, all that stuff. Harry Met Sally is so great. But anything else you want to shout out, or anybody at the film for Random Tropical Paradise you want to do a quick little shout out to, or?
I mean,
this is your stage, man. Take it.
I'll shout out to everybody, the cast. All of you guys have been amazing. Brian Greenberg, Brooks Whelan, Spencer Grammer, Brittany Furlan, Beth Littleford, Kyle Kinane, Caitlin McHugh, Aiden Mary, Jessica Lowe, Joey Pants. We didn't even touch Joey Pants is in my movie. Alfonso Macaulay. I got you, Alfonso. Yeah, Joey. That was the two big of like huge days of Kyle Kinane's like been one of my favorite comedians of all time since like when I first saw him in 2009, and I wrote that part for him.
And you got it.
And and so when we were casting, I was like, I wrote this part for Kyle Kinane. His voice was in my head when I was writing these lines, and they were like, well, why don't we see if we can get Kyle? And we got Kyle.
That's amazing. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, and then with Joey
Making
Pants,
dreams come true.
Exactly, yeah. And then with Joey Pants, when he signed on, I emailed and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe you're doing my movie. Like, thank you so much. And he was like, I thought the script was so good. I said yes before I even got to my part, and I framed that and put that on the wall in my office.
Congratulations.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
Shout out to Jordan Gershowitz and Madison Wickham, Durandex, marketing guy. You guys have been amazing. Allison Floral, my casting directors, Bly and Janelle. You guys have been ridiculous. You guys are insane. Our editor Scott Turner. My director of photography, Tom Calloway, looks badass. Our gaffer, Jim Spencer. Our production designer, Daniel Berger. Our composer, who did a ridiculous, he like does Hans Zimmer stuff, and he did my movie. And did like a whole. We have an original song at the end of the movie that's for the movie called Best Man that he did. The soundtrack is unbelievable, and that's our composer Bryce Jacobs and our music supervisor Andrea von Furster. I have another producer, Jennifer Rusikoff, who was instrumental in being able to allow me to assemble my team as well. My parents, my family, everybody I've ever met. I know I'm probably forgetting people, but go see the movie. It was a blast to make. A ton of people did a ton of hard work. And
where can we follow your stuff?
You can follow my stuff. I'm at Gvosity on Twitter. Shabash Films is at Shabash_films on all of these social media things. And yeah, that's
awesome.
That's my San Dimas High School football rules.
You guys can follow me all over the interwebs at Keetin Marchi. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much fun. One of the most fun interviews I've ever done.
Oh, great.
We'll see you guys next time here at AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.